May 31st, 2025. A little baddie told me they still ended up showing the work print of the Schumacher cut the other night, even though Warner Brothers put a cease and desist on it. Ballsy. But gotta give props for spreading the good word. It's time.
The post from Epic Film Guys the other day is true. The screening went ahead, had nothing to do with Cinephile Video, the work print of Batman Forever, and I found out about the screening, and here we are. I saw the same cut that Kevin Smith screened at his showing in 2023 in New Jersey. I know that because I heard the Epic Film Guys podcast interview with Joe Black, and he described what's in this work print. And yeah, that's all there. All the stuff that he described that's in it, that's the one I saw. So I can confirm this is in fact Joel Schumacher's Batman Forever. There's something I want to clarify. Actual running time of this cut is 2 hours and 15 minutes. There's other sources, articles and whatnot, rumors saying it's 2.5 to 3 hours. No. 2 hours and 15 minutes is the actual running time of this cut. November 1994. It had the words on the bottom of the screen like Workprint 1194. So that's when this was cut together. About 7 months ahead of the film's release. In this video, I'm going to share with you what I thought of it, some first impressions, and some differences here and there, the overall vibe I got from this version of the film. And so what did I think of the Schumacher cut? First of all, I loved the movie. It's like I got to see things that I never thought I would see. This is a movie I grew up with, and to see all this other stuff, it was like, wow, you know what I mean? It honestly surpassed my expectations. I was really, in a few places, this was my face during some of the extra scenes. I don't know if you've seen a movie called X-Men Days of Future Past, but there's a scene where Evan Peters is watching TV, and that was my face for a lot of this movie. It's like, imagine a movie that you like. Go ahead, I'll wait. Now imagine that you found out that there's an early work print of your movie that fundamentally changes the narrative with all its additional scenes and never before seen footage and different takes, different music, different sound effects, different on-set audio. So it's basically that on-set audio changes the performances of the lead actors. Think about that. What this meant for me in regards to Batman Forever is I was frankly devastated at the prospect of what this movie could have been and what it ultimately ended up being. It was so different. A lot of the scenes are the same, but every single scene has different music because the music by Elliot Goldenthal wasn't done yet, with the exception of one or two tracks. I know the track where Batman is in the capsule. I saw the signal, sir. Always ready. That music is in this cut, and it's used several times. Everything else is from different movies. Batman Returns, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Alien 3. The Alien 3 tracks by Elliot Goldenthal that are in this version were just sent chills down my spine. There are shots in this version that go on for a little longer. And the way I was able to tell this is because while you're watching this version that was shown, for parts that are in the theatrical version, the 4K transfer, was spliced in there over the scenes. The 4K version was spliced into scenes that are in the theatrical cut. So if a scene from the work print that made the final film was in there, they used the 4K version over it. So the whole movie wasn't, grainy with that little work print timer at the bottom. Parts of it are in the theatrical. The audio, on the other hand, is all the work print. Because the audio track on this cut is completely unique, with on-set audio, different takes, and, the score hadn't been done yet. So this is all temp score. The temp score creates a different mood. Because I feel like the tone that they were initially going for, especially with Joel in the editing room, and considering at the time, November 94, this feels like a Joel Schumacher film, much more so than what we ended up with in June of 95. The tone of this movie was altered heavily in editing for the final film, as they wanted a lighter tone. Let's look at Hawkins, the bank guard from the opening scene. Hawkins has a different voice in this version. Some of the lines he has in the final film are not in this version. He doesn't say, "Oh no, it's boiling acid." He has more dialogue with Batman while they're trapped in the bank vault. And that thing's filling up with acid. They have a little more banter between them. There's, different takes of Hawkins, like when he goes, "Hang on." I don't think that line is in this version. When the bank vault swings into the hole, it's falling through the air. He doesn't go, "Ah!" It's just the thing falling. There's a lot less. Hawkins gets a lot less dialogue in this version, and frankly, it makes him less annoying, and it makes the scene a little more straight. And also, no Elliot Goldenthal's music, so it's a different feel. And there's all of the scenes in this movie have a different feel because the music is different. Music has a very big effect, and it's like what Neil was saying the other day. He co-produced and edited a movie of his own, and how the movies continue to grow and change, and it's sort of found in the edit sometimes. Edits have a big effect on how a movie feels and sounds, and the impression it leaves on you. Movies like Star Wars, the original Star Wars, were found in the edit. Original work print of it was terrible. George Lucas had to fire the original editor. And the final film is drastically different, and it really came together. That movie was saved in the edit, found in the edit. Now in this video, I wanted to share with you kind of how I feel about each of the 5 characters. The journey they take throughout the film feels different in this one. All of these characters have additional scenes in this work print that were cut for the final film, and I'll share some of those differences with you. We'll go in reverse order, starting with... So I'd say 99% of Robin's scenes that are in this work print are in the final film. I was surprised. Almost nothing was cut from Robin's character, save for the alleyway fight goes on longer. And I got the impression that Dick Grayson was more vulnerable in this version. Batman says, he catches his fist and says, "If Bruce Wayne could have saved your parents, he would have." Or I think the line is, "If he could have given his life to save your parents, he would have." In the theatrical, we cut away from that to the scene in the Batcave. In this version, it continues. Dick he has tears in his eyes, and he's continuing to punch Batman. There's an overhead shot of them continuing to fight. Dick breaks down in tears, and Bruce says, "If there's anything I can do to help you, I will." So Dick is able to show a little more emotion in this cut. He seems a little more vulnerable because of those few seconds. There's a little more dialogue between him and Bruce in the cave scene that follows. The conversation they have face to face about parenthood and Robin becoming a crime fighter like Batman, there's more dialogue between them. Just a few seconds, just a few additional lines. It doesn't change the scene all too much. But what else is there is really interesting to watch. There's that deleted scene where Dick is punching the bag with Two-Face's picture on it, which is not in this version. The picture of Two-Face that Dick punches in that scene is in this version. After Alfred says, "One day Robin will fly again, I promise." Alfred exits the room. The scene continues with Robin unpacking his things. He's sort of settling into his room, and we see a close-up. He has the picture of Two-Face. Something else that was left out of this version is after Two-Face falls at the end, that we get that close-up of Robin looking down, and he realizes, yeah, it's done. That's not in this version. It's kind of unfortunate, but fortunately it ended up in the final film. So that's a good thing, is that they restored that. The ending with him standing on the gargoyle with Batman at the end, not in this version. It ends just like with them running at the screen with the bat symbol behind them. Nicole Kidman has a couple of extended scenes in this version. We're introduced to her the same way, outside the Second Bank of Gotham. One scene that was cut is Chase defending Batman on the television, being interviewed on camera outside the Second Bank of Gotham. Actually, no, it was right next to that hole where the bank vault swung back in, because we see the vault right behind her. So the last time we saw her in the theatrical, she's watching Batman on the helicopter. We see her again in that same room. First of all, she gets to swear. She says bullshit, and she's saying Batman is a hero in her eyes. She's defending him on national TV, which I thought was great. After that scene, I was like rooting for her for the rest of the movie. That scene comes during a deleted scene at Wayne Manor with Alfred and Bruce. Bruce is watching it on the television. The next scene of hers that was cut, there's a little more with her and Bruce at her apartment about halfway into the movie. Because her and Bruce walk through her apartment door. They're laughing and giggling. They're kind of flirting. You can tell they're on a date. And then she says, "Oh, there's something on the table I want you to have. I hope you like it." That's where the scene starts in the theatrical version. One scene I was hoping to find that we didn't get is Nap Time Gorgeous. That picture, I know I've seen it on the pinball machine, and there's also a photo of that lying around. It's like a scene that was deleted. It's not in this version, unfortunately. The ending scene in Arkham, where she's visiting Edward, goes on for a little longer in this version, like maybe 15 seconds longer. It's when he says, "I'm Batman." But the thing is, we cut away from that in the theatrical version when he's laughing like this and the laughing continues. Well, he lunges at her and she's like freaked out. He gets up real close to the camera like this, and he's lit from below. His face is actually deformed a little. I don't know why that is, but it was great to see some more interplay with her, and actually made him look scarier and her look more vulnerable. There's no additional dialogue in that extended scene. It's just him. Wait a minute. I don't think there's any additional dialogue in that scene. It's just him laughing. No, I think there is additional dialogue. Damn it. I forgot something. Her last additional scene is in the car with Alfred, which I know is on YouTube and all that, but it was nice to see. She goes, "Does it ever end?" "No, Dr. Meridian, not in this lifetime." Edward, where do I begin? Well, actually, this is the first of the 5 characters who are introduced in a different scene. Edward's first scene is the same location. He's in his cubicle. But in this one, there's just more of him. He's preparing for Bruce to arrive, really. He's like saying, "I'm your biggest fan. I'm waiting for this day, and soon we'll be playing golf on the course together." And he's really looking forward to showing Bruce his project. I guess they cut that for time because when in the final film he's saying, "Oh God, it's him. I am a winner." But it was nice to see the additional dialogue and how important Bruce is to him. We see more of his cubicle, for instance, more magazines of Val Kilmer and whatnot. So he has his scene with Bruce, and he gets turned down. And the next time we see him, he's working on his project in the middle of the night. All sparks are flying, and there's less dialogue. The first time he speaks is when he says, "There's too many questions. There's just too many." Well, in the theatrical, he's saying things like, "Okay, now I've got it. Ha!" And that's not here. I think stuff like that, just another example of adding dialogue where it isn't really needed, but they want to lighten the tone. So, okay, Edward's just off screen screwing around here. We can add more dialogue here and make the scene wackier. When, to me, it works better in the work print. The rest of his scene with Stickley, actually, okay, I have problems with how long the scene goes on and how much Jim is really just chewing the scenery here. It was all that. Goodness gracious. His little dance, like feeding off your brains, all that stuff. He says feeding off your brains, but we don't see him do his little shuffling dance. Like, he's doing all this. That's off screen. It's just a close up of, Stickley in the chair getting drained. That was interesting. And by the way, it's different music for this scene. The next big difference with Edward is at his apartment. We don't see him walking through the door with flaming lips and all that. It's different music for the scene, and there's actually less. We get the establishing shot, and then we cut inside, and he's making the second riddle. And we get some extra overhead shots, like that. Like it's like Joel put a camera in the ceiling almost with a fisheye lens, looking down at Nygma, just messing around and working on the riddles and doing Riddler stuff. The next extended scene comes at the casino when Riddler, Two-Face, show me how to punch a guy. That goes on a little longer because in the theatrical he goes, "Ow!" and then we cut. But after that, Two-Face says, "You hit like a sissy," and he actually finishes the guy. Crazy thing is, I feel like I'd seen that scene before, like a really long time ago. I seem to recall watching Two-Face punch the other guy. That's not in the final film, but I swear I've seen that before. Like maybe I saw it on TV, and the TV version had stuff from the work print. It's like I didn't just imagine this, because I saw it just the other day of that scene going on longer and Two-Face punching the other guy out cold. It was so cool because that's how I remember the scene. It's like watching that movie for the first time as like a 6-year-old. It was crazy to see that scene go on a little longer and have the stuff that I remember that just is strangely missing from the theatrical version. There is no scene in this version of Riddler like this with his cane. Like there's a behind-the-scenes photo of that. That's not here. Edward's next extended scene comes at the party when they have their little back and forth, and he's gloating in front of Bruce. It goes on a little longer. He says something like, "Bruce, this could have been ours. I was willing to work with you, but you rejected me. And now look at you." He's belittling him. Riddler and Two-Face with the masks through the peephole. Twick or tweet. It keeps going in this version. They after that they go twick or tweet, twick or tweet. Just cut. The ending confrontation with Batman, he actually has an additional riddle for him. Honestly, I don't recall what it was, but there's more to that scene. Riddler asks him something, it's one of his tricky dicky riddles, right? And Batman doesn't have an answer for it. He says something, like he tries. Batman thinks he has the answer. Riddler tells him, "Nope, you're wrong." And then he goes to press the button. Batman says, "Wait, I have a riddle for you."
Hi, Drew from the future here. So while I was filming the video, I wasn't really able to recall the exact structure of the scene because the structure was shifted slightly for the final edit. Here we have the original script, and it occurred to me while editing that this is much closer to what was in the Schumacher cut that I watched. You can see there the Riddler gives him the riddle, and Batman answers with death without taste, sound, and all around us. That's when Riddler says, it must be in the form of a question. And then the scene plays out the rest of the way, the same as how it does in the final film. So there you go. Check the original script. That is, I'm almost positive, what's in the work print.
Harvey. We're getting into the really interesting stuff now. There's a lot of Tommy Lee Jones's stuff was cut for the final film. So this version opens at Arkham Asylum. It's raining outside. Get lots of wicked exterior establishing shots outside Arkham. It's pouring down rain. You can see this on YouTube, but in this version, there's this really spooky music playing underneath it. We see the writing on the wall, the bat must die, and the next time we see Harvey is him tormenting the guard, Hawkins. And because we had that scene with at Arkham, I was really afraid for Hawkins. He might kill this guy. Two-Face felt more dangerous because of that cold open. Now, on Epic Film Guy's coverage of this cut, when they saw the screening of this years ago, they had mentioned that Tommy Lee Jones's dialogue was different in this scene. And it isn't. All the stuff that's in the final film, his delivery, I suppose, everything from "You're counting on the winged avenger to deliver you from evil," up until "Too true, and so you shall, nothing better than live bait to trap a bat," that is all the same in this work print. The differences really start in the helicopter, when he's got that bank vault on the chain. He's talking on that speaker, and there's a lot of wonderful additional dialogue for Tommy Lee Jones here. He gets to really explain how tragic his tragedy and what Batman did to him and why he's doing this. There's some of that in the final film, but the stuff that's here, he's saying something along the lines of, "It's been 2 years since you locked us away. Now I'm paying you back. You betrayed us." That I believe is one of the lines here. You betrayed us. And it's like, he's saying, like, you created this monster that we are. I'm just watching it like, holy shit. Like, I didn't get it. I don't know why they would cut this. Like, for time, I suppose. But it adds so much. The person who cut this stuff out of the movie, it made a huge compromise. The movie's like 2 hours, 2 minutes, right? Great. More showings, more butts in the seats, more money. I don't understand how this didn't make the final film. His character is so much, it's more rich, and it feels more personal why he's doing this to Batman and why he wants to kill him. So Batman's hanging on to the chain, right? One of my favorite additions of anything in this work print is Two-Face looking down at Batman. And he actually, as Harvey, I think, he looks down and he says, like, wow, he's impressed that Batman is still hanging on. And he's thinking, like, this guy deserves a medal. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he's amazed. And he's thinking, oh, I guess we'll let him live. Then he flips his coin. Scarred side up. He goes, on second thought, if the bat wants to play, we'll play. And I felt like cheering because that line is in the trailer for the movie, right? It's also in the video game. Like on the start screen, when you press start, you get that quote. If the bat wants to play, we'll play. Like, that's how my brother and I know that line. It's from the game. It's not in the movie. That's how we know it. It was just awesome to see a version of this movie that had that line. After 30 years of enjoying this movie and playing the video game, and to finally hear that line during the film, oh God, I could scream. And so the scene that follows with him, trying to kill Batman and like driving through the eye and like all this stuff, the stuff that ensues is because the coin landed scarred side up. It shows that in the theatrical, like, we just cut to him saying, "Hang on, Batty," right? It's like that's the default for Two-Face. It's just, oh, I'm crazy. The chase will continue now. I'm going to kill Batman at all costs. I loved that scene of him contemplating what to do next. And because of that coin flip, the scene will continue. I don't know. It gave just like agency to his character. It gave something. It just feels like there's more to his character. I love the duality of Harvey and Two-Face, and the references to his former life as the district attorney and Bruce Wayne, Batman's friend or whatever, is just, I don't know, it's amazing. There's more dialogue with him talking to Batman in the helicopter, and one of the things he said, some of this is on YouTube, by the way, when he says, "You're a killer too," that causes Batman to have flashbacks when he jumps out of the helicopter and he's falling. There's additional... So I think the stuntman in the suit is falling like on a wire, and there's a black background behind him. It's in slow motion. And Batman is hearing voices in his head. This is the first time we get flashbacks to the deaths of his parents. We see the giant bat too. It's all flashing through his head before he hits the water. I always thought that it happened when he was coming up in the water like this, but it's when he's falling. You're a killer too. Two-Face has more agency in the movie because of that line. And the reason I say that is because the entire subplot of Bruce coming to terms with his past and all the stress happens because Two-Face calls him a killer. That brought up Two-Face's character a little bit for me. And we hear the line again when we see inside Bruce's head, inside Riddler's lair. We actually hear that quote again, "You're a killer too," as we see the giant bat flying. Two-Face still laughs a lot in this movie, but there's a few parts where he isn't laughing, like when he does this to Batman and he jumps down into the train. In this version, he isn't laughing and doesn't say anything. He just jumps. And I felt good about that because I always felt he doesn't need to always be laughing. Performances are just so over the top in this film, especially Riddler and Two-Face, and it's exacerbated by the way they dubbed these characters, especially Two-Face. I don't like his dubbing in the final film, and it's better in this version because there are lots of extra goofy laughs added for the final film that it didn't need to be there. Okay, here we are. Val Kilmer's deleted scenes in Batman Forever. His introduction in this film is different than what we're all familiar with. Originally, it opens on Batman suiting up. That happens later in this work print. We're introduced to Bruce Wayne at Wayne Enterprises. He's completely in silhouette. He's watching TV in his office. And then all his assistants and employees like come into the room, and they're asking him questions like, "Do you need anything, Mr. Wayne?" And Margaret is going like, "Gossip Gertie's calling all day. Like, who are you taking to the Gotham Charity Circus?" What was wonderful was to see Val pick up the phone. He says, "Hi, gorgeous." "Oh, sorry, sir. Ohayou gozaimasu." So he's talking to someone in Japanese, making a deal with someone way over in Japan. Just seeing that made him seem just like, especially it's his first scene, he seems suave and busy and cool and intelligent. He shows some other languages. And you remember in the first Batman when he says, "It's Japanese because I bought it in Japan." Well, here he is speaking Japanese. Oh yeah, Jon Favreau is also in this scene as well. He shows up in the next scene with the one with Nygma. He's also in this scene too, and he asks Bruce if he needs anything. And it's so there's so much going on. People are just talking and talking and talking. Wayne, I need this from you. We need this from you. And why haven't you done this? And this scene ends with Bruce exiting the room, and he stops in the doorway. He turns around. He says, "Everyone relax. I think I'll give myself a raise." It reminded me of his character in Real Genius. That same like cocky, smarmy attitude. All right, then we cut to the scene of Nygma in his cubicle preparing for Bruce's arrival. Bruce walks in, and that's the overhead shot where the doors open like this, just like in the theatrical cut. But this time, the music is from Pee-wee's Big Adventure when Pee-wee's making his breakfast. And that score is one of Danny Elfman's best. When that scene ends, he goes to his office, and he goes in the capsule, and it's time to suit up because it's time to stop Two-Face at the bank. The next time we see Bruce is this wonderful deleted scene of him waking up in bed. I think there's a shot I think they used that shot for the trailer at some point, because it's him the morning after he crashed into the Statue of Liberty, and then we see him, he wakes up in bed the next morning. Alfred is there. He asks him if he needs anything, and it's like the news is on in the background. There's a reporter describing what happened last night, and we see the Statue of Liberty again with one side scarred and all that. Like, is Batman a menace to society? And that's the report. The headline is Batman good for Gotham? And that's when we get Chase saying, "Oh, that's bullshit. He's out to protect people. He did what he could to stop Harvey and help him, you know." It was either Bruce or Alfred that stops the TV, and they have a conversation of, should I continue being Batman? Am I doing the right thing? There's more of that in the cave later. It's a scene that we've seen on YouTube and the DVD and whatnot. That's commercially available. But the seeds for that conversation are planted earlier on in the film in this scene. Alfred is actually, he has the suit, the Panther suit, like the boots and the cowl in his hands. And he sets them aside like he's going to clean them later. But because Alfred is carrying the suit, we see that he takes care of Bruce. Like, he really is there for him. Bruce actually tells Alfred he wakes up in bed after we see a scene of him running through the rain with the red book. That's why he woke up in bed. He's having flashbacks. He was having a dream about that terrible night where he fell into the cave and found the bat. Then he wakes up. He actually describes his dream to Alfred. It's planting the seeds for the huge bat confrontation in the cave later on. And now, you know that shot when he's looking at the TV and it's the report on Harvey Dent, and although Batman tried to save him, he is not looking at the TV watching that. He's not watching that in this cut. He's just like this. He's reflecting. He's thinking about what he saw. He's reliving it all. Alfred is there to support him. He's laying it all out for Alfred, and they're discussing it. Then the phone rings, okay? Alfred goes, Wayne Manor. There's been an incident at Wayne Enterprises. Those few seconds are in the final film, but everything before that I just described, him and Alfred talking about the dream, that's the ultimate point of the scene. In the final cut, it's just Bruce, like, in his robe, looking at the TV, right? Off camera, of course. Not in this version. It was just like a completely different scene that they cut, and they repurposed it so Bruce would get the news about Stickley's death. Very creative. That's very creative how they repurposed those few seconds, the tail end of that scene. But what's in this work print, it was so much more interesting. You know, because we had that scene with Alfred and the seeds for Bruce's traumatic memories are planted much earlier on in the film. I mean, in the theatrical cut, the first time we see the flashbacks are after he takes Dick to Wayne Manor, and we get this scene where he's looking at the photo in the living room or parlor and says, "I killed them. 2 shots, just like my parents." And over the years, I never understood why he would have those flashbacks just then. It felt strange to start that subplot, 40 minutes into the film, whereas in the work print, it starts much earlier. And it happened because of something Two-Face said. It's better in this version because there's more time and more scenes explaining it. Now, the next of Bruce's scenes that's really drastically different, and this one in particular, is when he has Chase over to explain a few things. And now in the film, they totally reworked this scene to where he is describing to Chase that he fell into a hole. The cave was massive. He found this bat that was coming toward him. So Val has a voiceover during that scene. We see the close-up of his eyes with a tear. He says, he's suddenly like, "I knew what to do with my life. I would strike fear into criminals, and I would use that symbol of that big bat as that would be my identity, basically." He really lays it all out for her, and then they kiss, and then she finds out he's Batman. Now, this scene is way different in the work print. There's a lot less explaining. The multiple scenes throughout the film, flashbacks, analyzing, because they're building mystery as to what actually happened in those flashbacks and why it's important. But the scene he has with Chase in the parlor is really set up for the scene where he finally confronts the huge bat and finds his father's diary. Now, Chase asks him, "What is it? what are you holding back? And he has the flashback where he looks around in the room with, it's his parents' funeral, right? That still plays out the same, but he's not saying anything. He's not explaining it and narrating it like he does in the final film. He's just looking around. He sees his father's diary, slams it shut. He's a little boy again. He falls through the hole. And then we just kind of cut to the giant bat, like close up, red eyes, like screaming. And then Two-Face and Riddler break in, and that's the scene. They don't kiss in this version, which was interesting. I guess they wanted to save that for the finale. On one hand, we don't have the scene of her finding out that he's Batman because of the kiss. That's kind of a compromise, but what I do like about not having the scene of them kissing, it just seems a little perverted, sort of, that he's describing this awful event and like her solution is to kiss him. That's not a therapist's job, and I get that they're in a relationship. That scene never struck me as particularly romantic, when he's describing this awful childhood trauma and something that's stuck with him for 30 years. I'm kind of glad that there's a version of this scene where they don't kiss, even though that's really the moment where she pieces it together. So Bruce gets shot. He wakes up in bed, and he's there with Alfred because he has amnesia. A lot of you are familiar with this because it was released on the DVD. He goes down to the cave and tells him, perhaps you never really confronted your fear, and tells him to go into the cave. Bruce asks, what's in there? I think we've all seen this scene, but what was different in this version was the temp score. And it's one of my favorite tracks in any movie. It's from Alien 3, really the climax when Ripley makes her sacrifice, and this song is called Adagio. It's a real tearjerker kind of piece. This is the first time I've ever seen the full movie with all the deleted scenes in place and the entire subplot of Bruce's trauma and the mystery that is involving the diary. He finds his father's diary. He's all teary-eyed. That light hits his eyes. Great acting from Val. And on the page it says, Bruce insists on seeing a movie tonight. Martha and I want to see this movie instead, so Bruce's cartoon will have to wait. He says, not my fault. That's when the bat comes at him. The music builds, and it's probably my favorite cue Elliot Goldenthal has ever done. Adagio. When the song crescendos, that's when we cut to the wide shot, the circling wide shot, and him doing this against the bat. I wanted to cry. If they ever release this, I hope they use that song. He comes out of that cave. He says, I'm Batman. He's just like looking super confident, got himself together. He's ready to kick ass. We cut to a wide shot of Alfred and Bruce walking to find the sonar suit. A big swarm of bats comes out of that hole and fills the frame. It's just a wonderful Schumacher directed piece of history. All Batman fans deserve to see it. So this concludes the full subplot of Bruce finding his father's diary and coming to terms with his memories and really discovering why he's Batman and why he will stay Batman. Those are all the extended scenes with Bruce Wayne, Val Kilmer. There is one glaring omission, however. which was reinstated for the final film, his final speech to Edward. Once Two-Face falls into that hole, we just cut to Arkham Asylum. So the scene of him confronting Riddler and saying that he's both Bruce Wayne and Batman, not in this version. And I think that's because maybe Joel just thought that we already know this based on the scene in the cave when he comes out. He says, "It's not my fault. I'm free of guilt. I'm Batman." So maybe Joel thought that the scene he has with Riddler wasn't needed because they already explored that pretty thoroughly. I think a lot of these scenes were cut not only for time, but for tone. Ultimately, I think the powers that be wanted a movie that was lighter in tone and just more fun. And Jim Carrey certainly brought that, and the rest of the cast to an extent. This ends part 1. Leave a comment if you want to ask anything. I read them all. I'll see you in part 2.